Merry Christmas, everybody. I don't know if it was like this for you, but we weren't allowed to touch any of the wrapped gifts under the tree until everybody was up. Well, until my father was up and he had his cup of U-Band coffee and he started to hand out each of the gifts to all of us like he was Santa Claus. That was excruciating to an early riser like myself, who sat there impatiently in the glow of the Christmas tree. Lucky for us, we were allowed to grab our stockings and get through that to keep us occupied. As I dug through my sock, I anticipated every trinket, every treat, and every bauble. Some of them were new little wonders that maybe weren't tree material, and others were exactly what you'd expect. Things we would see year after year, kind of like welcoming back an old friend. And like old friends, some were more welcome than others. I'm Victor, and straight out of the Gen Experience, the Christmas stocking, the tradition and the content. Here's 20 of the best stocking stuffers, from the biggest surprises to the ones we counted on, especially the last one we hope to get every year. If you want to get to the bottom of your sock, let's go. Taking up a good amount of space in the stocking, a tall plastic C-3PO, Skeletor, or Miss Piggy might be the first thing you pull out. Your excitement levels out a bit when you realize this is something you pop the head off to get to a container of bubble bath. At least the plastic figure is all yours. You don't have to share it with anyone on your adventures in the bathtub. The soap wasn't the only hygienical surprise in your stocking. Chapstick, essential in the cold of my Pacific Northwest, made frequent stocking appearances. There were also the travel-sized manicure sets. Knowing you'll lose most of it by next year, these little cases were certainly reoccurring stuffers. And I was probably 40-something before I realized what everything in there was for. A regular deck of cards was quite common, but this classic old maid set brings back some memories. You knew you'd have fun with your sister on a peaceful game night, but those were just the tip of the game iceberg. Christmas might get more exciting with a handheld maze game where you carefully tilt and balance steel BBs into any number of small holes under the transparent plastic. Better still, a rudimentary pinball machine, or one of the greats, strolling bowling, a foldable wacky wind-up bowling alley, or the waterfalls, both from Tomy. These mini water pump games, like the ring toss I had, fit like a glove. Time to start besting yourself or competing with a friend in one of these endless time wasters. Of course, the minute you stuck your hand into your stocking, you were surely going to feel candy, some sort of sweet treat. Maybe not always a name brand, but beyond the omnipresent candy cane, you might find the small Christmas ornament-wrapped chocolate balls, or better still, the milk chocolate Santa or snowman. You might have been someone with that M&M-filled plastic candy cane sticking out of the top, or have the generic but always welcome Thompson chocolate crispy discs wrapped in foil. I might have collected all those immediately and gone through those babies faster than unwrapping a present. There was also the chance you might find the candy toy hybrid, the Pez dispenser. Perhaps it had the head of Mickey Mouse, or even that cool new character Boba Fett. No doubt a package of flavored Pez came along with it. Flavored of what though? I do not know. This cheap chalk candy was not my favorite, not by a long shot, especially when compared to the chocolate gold coins in a mesh bag that always brought a smile to our faces. A step up from some of the simple kid fare was the granddaddy of handheld games. Stuffed in stockings to thrill older kids, they'd make out like bandits when pulling the battery-powered football, basketball, or even the rare baseball and hockey games by Mattel Electronics. The little blips and bleeps were a far cry from video game consoles coming up in the world, but the red dots and dashes of LED were the height of technological wizardry when it came to mini games that fit in the palm of our hands and whiled away the hours. Some of you might remember getting any number of awesome trading cards in your stockings. Your hand deep in the sock when suddenly you felt that familiar rustling of packaging. With or without gum, you knew you had something special when you pulled out some of your favorite sports cars, usually by Topps or their competitors, Bowman or Panini. Tearing it open, you'd check out the best players featured in the pack, or if there were any to trade. This was like fantasy sports before there was fantasy sports. Then again, if you were more on the pop culture or gross side, Star Wars or other movie cards were always wanted. And those hysterical parody product trading cards, wacky packages, and even the Garbage Pail Kids, if your mother allowed it, were a big hit. Some were even stickers. And speaking of stickers, in 1984, I got a roll of G1 Transformer stickers in a little box. Stickers, whether scratch and sniff or otherwise, were cheap and trendy gifts kids loved during the 70s and 80s and were perfect for your Christmas stocking. There were stickers for everything, and they were just one of the stationery type gifts found stuffed in your sock Christmas morning. Did you get a stamp set and ink pad? Or what about a small box of crayons or markers from Crayola? Even themed erasers with pencils and toppers. School supplies were an acceptable gift as long as they were fun and had your favorite character friends to accompany you. Oh yeah, this is a biggie. Was Santa awesome enough to you to stuff batteries in your stocking? It wasn't random, it was intentional, and if you found these in your sock, you know what that meant. These 9-volt C and even D batteries were meant to power something still wrapped under the tree. Those batteries were a way of telling you an awesome gift awaits and it needs power. The anticipation factor leveled up Christmas morning. Was it Tobar, the newest electronic robot? We had him. Anyone else? Or it could be the tabletop Simon game. Maybe, just maybe, it was a hot, new, exciting RC car ready to burst onto the scene.
Nope. This year I'm putting Duracell in the stockings. Duracell, a great stuff.
Even with Barbie's measurements, she could easily fit into a stocking. Well, just barely. It could have just as easily been Mod Hair Ken, whose facial hair stickers could have him looking like a suave spy one minute and a serial killer the next. Most likely, though, you'd find an outfit or accessories like this doomed pack. Why waste your money? Every one of these shoes was going to inevitably be lost instantly or eaten by the dog. These accessories were affordable surprises that most Barbie fans weren't thinking about, but were easy to be stuffed into your stocking to add to a child's current collection of dolls, or just like the batteries, prepare you for a new 12-inch wonder waiting patiently and wrapped delicately under the tree. Would it be Magic Curl or Western Barbie? The one with a lazy eye. Along the same lines as some bathroom essentials, tweens, before we even ever coined the word, would giggle with delight to get lip gloss. Although any lip gloss felt mature, lip smackers had the array of flavors that drove boys crazy. I guess. I thought they were for very young girls, but apparently not. Everybody was into it. No matter your age, you loved to taste Dr. Pepper, Tootsie Roll, Hires Root Beer, Vanilla Marshmallow, or Good and Plenty's on your lips when you bit them. And I bet the boys did too. I also bet if some boys knew girls tasted like that, they would have started kissing a lot earlier. If you had no one to kiss, just try biting or sucking on your lip for a little hint of cotton candy or green apple. Beyond lip gloss, the stocking easily fits some other beauty products. You might find ponytail holders, from the classic design of the 70s to the banana clip of the 80s. And finally, you can't rule out the complement to sweet-smelling lips, cheap-ass perfume. Loads of it. With the action figures or even play sets you hope to God were under the tree, these stocking stuffers weren't simple distractions, but name brand toys. Who would balk at things like new Play-Doh when your last barrel had dried out, or a Slinky when your old one had stretched beyond recognition? As for Rubik's Cube, I didn't know a soul without one, maybe two. Were you one that mastered the mathematical solution, or the one that just took it apart to solve it? Just don't take those stickers off, believe me. Oh, and Silly Putty? We all loved to roll it up and bounce it wildly, but it was transferring the Sunday funnies from the paper onto the squished rubber ball that had us convinced this egg yolk toy wasn't only silly, but magic. They weren't the Sunday funnies, they were better. The late 70s and early 80s provided comic digests like never before. Hundreds of comic strip classics began publishing their entire collection of past newspaper strips into softback books that brought one laugh after another. Thick comic book digests, like my favorite Archie comics, would also become popular and make their way into our Christmas haul. But Garfield and eventually The Far Side would become the most popular staples of stocking stuff. Always a new addition, they were a great gift for Dad, and a great read where they'd eventually end up, right next to the toilet. Now, it was bound to happen. You probably felt the soft spot in your stocking and knew what was coming. Although boring, they were necessary and you would use them. Socks weren't on our list. They never were they? Just like the underwear you figured was under the tree, socks in your stocking took precious real estate for candy, toys, figures, books, more candy, and whatever other surprises lay in store. Although a little ironic you had socks inside a sock. We hung our stockings on Christmas Eve, magically filled overnight while we were sleeping. The dreams of what lay in store wouldn't have us waiting long. They were our first taste of long-awaited spoils of Christmas. What we had been waiting for, preparing for, even working for since Thanksgiving. You found the one with your name on it, then staked a claim in the living room to squirrel and hoard your treasures. Basic distractions always made their way into your stocking. They're what you might consider impulse buys from a place like Hallmark or the checkout stand at the department store. They could be odd and often random. Stockings could be home to bookmarks, magic tricks, shrinky dinks or stained glass kits, and even logic-based magnetic, metal, or wood puzzles. All very interesting to be sure. These were those little gifts that you'd never think to ask for, but there they were nevertheless. To be honest, we thrilled to each and dove in to try them all. They were fidget spinners before that was even a thing. But unlike fidget spinners, most of these had more of a payoff. Just like everything from the Gen experience. The most popular action figures, those make-up heads, and even classic car or jet model kits were not fitting for stockings. Those were left for the tree. But that didn't mean that some real toys didn't make it into your sock. These filler figures range from the PVC figurines of Garfield, complete with some smart-ass remark about Mondays or lasagna, all the way to E.T. figures depicting him in scenes from the popular film. Of course, since 1981, everyone got the blues, in the best way. Each with their own distinct personality, you could have easily had one that represented you. And everyone knew someone who was infatuated with the smurfiest new toy in town. But the toys didn't stop at just static ones. There were some action toys too. Albeit small, if they could fit, they could be stocking stuffed. The E.T. spaceship launcher, which conveniently secured to your belt for transport, and which I still have today, was just right for your Christmas sock. As was another spaceship. The GoBot space shuttle, Spacey. That's right, Spacey. And this is just one of the reasons there was no comparison between GoBots and Transformers. But let's not fool ourselves. We may not have asked for one, but you were bound to get a GoBot, and you played with it. Just like your simple no-name paratrooper that you continually wrapped up and endlessly threw higher and higher, hoping his chute opened before he fell to earth. This was all part of the stocking package, and we were happy to get it. Hell yeah, my mother made sure we always got stockings. As long as you lived at home, no matter your age, you got one. Or, if you're like me, were her favorite child, moved to Florida, you still got one sent to you. But that's neither here nor there. Tape cassettes of your favorite band, group, or solo act were always on your wish list, and at least one of them would find its way to the bottom of the sock. You knew when it was in your hand, but which one was it? That thrill of anticipation as you pulled it out made it clear. Immediately tearing off that impossible plastic wrap prison over the case, you didn't hesitate to stick it in your Walkman or wear it out playing it on your stereo, just like my copy of Huey Lewis and the News' Sports. Oh, and there was more candy. But tell me, how many of you out there got nuts? I mean, any kind of nuts. It seemed to always be Smokehouse almonds for us, but I wasn't complaining. Maybe even Blue Diamond. They were shoved down the side of a stocking in little packages, just like an airline. Who knows? Maybe that's where the stocking stuffer got their supply. These things were crack, and to this day there's an endless supply of flavored almonds during Christmas. Because, well, it's a good fat. Of course, what goes with nuts? Well, in this case, oranges. You can't find a person through even the 1990s who didn't have the toe of their stocking filled by an orange. I guess this was a way to tell you, with all that candy, you should have some fruit. Or was that the toothbrush so many of us also got in our sock? And yes, there was even more candy. The top of the stocking was only the pre-show of sweets, but the bottom was chock full of Hershey's Kisses. And by now, they had just started using Christmas colors. Candy Kisses were in no short supply. They were cheap and delicious. Far from the various kinds available today, the regular chocolate Kisses were joined by the new Reese's Mini Peanut Butter Cups. I might be the odd one out. As a matter of fact, I'm sure I am, but I think the minis have always tasted different from the full-size ones. It could be me, but I prefer the Candy Kisses over those, unless they bring back the full-size crunchy version of peanut butter cups. I'd go broke for those goodies. But lest we forget, the ultimate candy that you actually were excited to see. Storybook lifesavers. A lot have been said about these, and they're still available today. These in your stockings were something you almost looked for. You expected to get, and if they weren't there, you felt a little empty. Now this was a Christmas gift, deserving of the tree but fitting in your stocking. You wanted these, you loved these, and whether or not a track was one of your wrapped presents, these smaller gifts were perfect to be found in our stockings and were as important as the large-sized Star Wars figures you would unwrap later that morning. A cars I should say, sometimes multiple. Matchbox or Hot Wheels cars were just fun. Not only did they have sleek styling, but their wheels glided. That's just what you wanted, a fast car, and these mini Diecast treasures were loved by one and all. So while your sister might get a Care Bear figurine, which you also might want, a new shiny car was perfect. There was very little that could top a couple of new Hot Wheels cars, but I'll give it a try with something that comes very close. These were not just a Christmas Day thing, but that's when they showed up in mass. The McDonald's gift certificates were paper gold. They were easy to give and always received, just like the commercial said. These certificates were not only easy, but thoughtful and provided a wonderful gift for anyone on the receiving end. Of course, you have to remember you could actually get burgers and fries for only pennies back in the 70s when the gift certificates started. Who didn't love going to McDonald's? Everybody went, but it was still considered a treat. And when you used a gift certificate, you felt like you were paying. A version of the gift certificates were used for Halloween, but that's a whole other trick-or-treat story. A book of 10 of these regular certificates was only $5, and according to this ad in Ebony magazine, gift certificates had you getting down. Each were 50 cents and could pay for part of an entire meal. They would raise their value to $1 by the 90s, but by the 21st century, they were no longer cost-effective. The Arch card made for a poor replacement and led the way for the world of plastic reusable gift cards. Nothing like when the teacher or grandma gave you one, or maybe two as a surprise. And certainly nothing like the little envelope you might slip out from your stocking left by Santa, who obviously also went to McDonald's. It's true you could find pre-made manufactured stockings in the 80s and even the 70s. We never had one, and they were butt ugly anyway. I always loved my red and white fur-lined sock with my name in glitter at the top. Putting it up before going to bed meant something really special was going to happen when I woke up the next morning. Christmas was special. And with all the activities and rituals we kept with family and friends throughout the entire season, we felt we worked for this day, and opening a stocking was just part of the payoff. Had I been good? Well, you tell me by clicking the like or subscribe. If your haul included any of these, you must have been good, or at least had wonderful parents. I hope you enjoyed this show and will share your memories in the comments. I'm so glad you stopped by and hope you'll check out the rest of the content from the greatest era during our Gen experience. Thanks to all of you who are returning viewers, and until next time.